Let's go ahead and talk about the best players in the NBA, shall we? Number one is Jokic. That's no question, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, no debate about it. Nope, nada. I'm not even going to bother debating on Jokic being number one because there is no argument for him being in any other position that isn't number one. So, yeah. I'm going to take that to the bank with me. I'm not going to argue Jokic being number one because there's no reason why he shouldn't be number one. That's my argument for Jokic. The reason why he's number one is because nobody should be over him. Period. Done. Anyways, the next player on this list who I'm actually going to debate, and the first player on this list who I'm actually going to debate is, if the image will pop up, yeah, there you go. The Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is arguably the league's best two-way player right now. Arguably the best player on offense, and you could also argue that he's the best player on defense. There is not a single position that this man cannot there's not a single position this guy cannot score against. There's not a single position this guy cannot defend against. And there's not a single thing that the league can do to stop it. So why isn't he number one? The only reason why he's not number one, in my opinion, is because, one, he didn't win the MVP. Two, we did not see him in the postseason, and we did not see him make it far enough into the postseason. So those are two reasons. And then the third one, and this one is just a nitpick, he can't shoot. And those three reasons right there are the only reason why, in my opinion, Giannis isn't the best player in the league right now. Because aside from Nikola Jokic, Giannis has practically everything that you could ask for in a player, period. He has the height, he has the strength, he has the scoring ability, he has the rebounding, he has the defense, he has the IQ, he has everything aside from shooting that you could possibly ask for in a high value, high producing number one option. And even despite the fact that he can't shoot, he can still give you 30 points, which is it's the consistency that I want on a team. It's sure, it would be even better if he could shoot, but he's already doing ridiculous things without even needing to shoot. So it doesn't really seem like he needs to develop a jumper. So that's just my opinion on it. And another reason why he might not be ranked that much higher than Jokic is because it's been a while since he's won a championship. But aside from that, there's really no reason why he shouldn't be the best player. There's really no reason. And every single year the Bucks are title favorites. They should be title favorites. They should be one of the title favorites going into the season for this year, depending on how Damian Lillard developed over the offseason. But yeah, for the most part, I think Giannis is the best player aside from Jokic, Giannis is the best player in the NBA. And if it weren't for Jokic just being so ridiculously good, I would put Giannis at number one. Because, again, I would much rather have a player that's good at everything as opposed to a player that's good at one side of the ball, which is essentially what Giannis is when you compare him to Jokic, but at the same time, Jokic just does so much with the ball. You cannot not put him at number one, right? That's literally the one thing. You cannot not put him at number one. But Giannis, you can interchange and you can make an argument about that. I can't find an argument for Jokic. But anyways, the next player on this list, and I'm not going to show any of the other players because I don't really feel like I need to. I feel like everybody really knows every single one of those players. The next player on this list is Stephen Curry. And I know all of you are probably incredibly surprised. Why is Steph Curry so high on this list? And you're a LeBron fan. And I know it is kind of ridiculous. But I will say that despite the fact that I do think that LeBron was better than Steph Curry in the last season, and I do think LeBron is better than Steph Curry, period, I also have to take into consideration the amount of assistance, for lack of a better term, that Steph Curry has been getting or was getting for the majority of the season. It was roughly around the same as LeBron was getting. I can't even lie. It's roughly around the same, except you could argue that it's worse because, for example, we know Klay Thompson is not the same player that he was. We know he's not the same defender, right? We know that Klay Thompson is not the same defender. But we know that Anthony Davis is still the same player that he is. Like, he is still the same player from New Orleans that is like, and still the same Laker that could dominate any given game that he wants, but it's just he doesn't. And it's like, there's much more consistency from Anthony Davis than the consistency that you'd get from Klay Thompson. And, Steph was still, despite, playing alongside Klay Thompson, an offensive liability, and then Draymond Green, who is also an offensive liability because, he just for the fact that he just doesn't want to score. It's like you're essentially putting Curry in a situation where it's like it could go really good or it could go really, really bad. And meanwhile, with LeBron, you're putting him in a situation where it could go good or it could go bad. And that key difference right there is, in my opinion, what really separates what separates those two from being ranked higher than the other, in my opinion. Because if let's say the roles were reversed, I would probably put LeBron in there as opposed to Steph. If Steph had a better team, I would put LeBron in there. But because of the fact that Steph did not have that good of a team for the most of the season, and because of the fact that he played really well for last season, I'm putting him at top 3. Now, it might sound a little bit, crazy just because, the other players that I have ranked below him did a little bit more in the previous season. But it should also be noted that this list isn't just directly off of the results from last season. It's off of overall, my opinions on them and where I would put them, just based off of not just only my opinions on them, but also my really, I can't really say that I can't really give any sort of. I'm obviously gonna try to back up most of my statements, but it's my list and it's my opinion. I can't really give a factual explanation for something that's my opinion. So, I mean, again, if you guys like it, then that's great. If you guys don't like it, tough. It's my list, and I'm going to justify why I put people where I put them on my list. But again, you guys don't like it, just let me know in the comments. Next player on this list has to be Luka Doncic, and the only reason why I didn't put Luka or any of the other point guards that I'm going to mention higher is because I don't think there should be any point guard in the NBA that should be given the honor of being called better than Steph. In my opinion. Again, in my opinion. For as much as I don't like Steph, I do respect his game, and I do respect the fact that he is the best shooter in NBA history, and I do respect the fact that teams will literally forget about every other player and would rather guard Steph, which is honestly a thing I forgot to mention. Steph and his gravity is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in basketball. It's the fact that he's able to attract so much attention despite the fact that he's so far away from the basket. And part of that is definitely boosting his rating. So in case any of you guys, were questioning and had that question. And so, right, we stopped with Luka, and I'll do the next player on the list, but I'll explain Luka, and then we'll go into the break. But Luka, essentially, I mean, how could he not be top 5 on this list? He was top 3 in MVP voting. A lot of people might argue that he should have won the MVP. I don't think so. But he was also a ridiculous player alongside with Kyrie. He had a great final stretch of the season, which ended up leading the Dallas Mavericks all the way to the finals, which is what they needed. But, I mean, Luka, just one of the best players in the NBA, so he's got to be up in the top 5. He's That's always like a rule that I have. Like Luka, he has to be in the top 5. You got to put him, if you're going to put him somewhere, you got to put him in the top 5. I refuse to believe that you can name 5 players better than Luka Doncic. And that's really the biggest reason why, I have him. So I have him like in the top 4. Like you can't do that. Now, the next player on this list, so this will be 5th on the list, is going to be LeBron. Like, no question about it. LeBron. I'm not going to even bother debating that. LeBron. Like, the only player that I see that is genuinely better than LeBron James, solely off of, like, just... The only players that I see that are better than him, like, just better, are Giannis and Jokic. The only reason why I think that Luka is better than him is because Luka is younger. And the only reason why I think Steph Curry is better, should be ranked higher than him in this season, is because Steph Curry had a much more difficult time in the last season. But LeBron is top tier. He's definitely top 5. I don't care what any of you guys say. Especially after these recent Olympics, you cannot convince me that there are still a whole team full of the NBA's best players, and they all went to the oldest man on the court. You have to have him in the top 5. I am sorry, gotta have him in the top 5. And again, all of you guys can just dislike my list, but it's my list, so deal with it. But anyways, aside from that, we are completely out of time for this first segment. We went way over the time. So now we'll go ahead and continue on with the second segment, which is going to be continuing on with the top players of the NBA. And we'll see how far we can get to before I have to stop again. And I'll be right back after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the